This is CBC Here and Now.
A 55% cut in federal funding means that the Easter Seals here in St. John's has to dig into their own pockets to pay for its very popular summer camps.
It hurts. We don't understand it. We want our funding back up to normal levels.
I'm Jeremy and I'll have that story coming up.
The committee might well have found a better designer. I don't dispute that. But I would say with all modesty that they would not have found anybody who cared more.
He'll be remembered as one of the more extraordinary artists in Canada, certainly.
One of this province's most acclaimed artists has died. Tonight, we look back at the life and work of Christopher Pratt. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes. Easter Seals says it's been left in a lurch. The nonprofit offers opportunities and programs for people with disabilities of all ages. This summer, its much-needed federal funding was slashed. But as Jeremy Eaton reports, Easter Seals says it won't cut its summer staff or the number of campers in half, at least not yet.
That popular that when we opened up registration, every slot was filled within 2 hours.
Camps hosted by Easter Seals in this province are very popular. Each and every year, the organization sees about 25 to 30 participants. That's for each and every week for the entire summer.
All disabilities allowed at our camp, from autism to cognitive, developmental, physical, and so on. And so it's a real important component for the community here in Newfoundland and Labrador.
About 3 weeks ago, Mark Bradbury got the bad news.
We got cut 55% of our federal funding for the Canada Summer Jobs to hire from 12 to 14 post-secondary students. So now we're down to 5 or 6.
This year, Easter Seals will absorb the additional cost, which is about $25,000 to $30,000, which means taking money away from the popular luxury cabin lottery fundraiser and other donations made towards its expansion plans for this park.
We need to go to our complete maximum and have all the kids here to come and enjoy this that we can.
Phase 2 was this pavilion and sensory garden, and Phase 3 is still a work in progress, meaning they are taking money from that project and putting it into camps.
It hurts. We don't understand it, and we don't want a precedent set, because we may not have the money next year to be able to offset that 55% cut. So we want our funding back up to normal levels. Let us keep putting the monies that are donated towards park benches and swings and accessible zip lines, and for the federal government to please reinstate our funding either this year, and certainly next year and many years thereafter.
Because the people attending these camps have higher needs, it requires a special level of training. Struggling to pay for extra summer positions means some post-secondary students could also miss out.
All of our student counselors are nursing students, kinesiology, recreational therapy, and so on, and they really require this practical experience for their actual trade and academic route. Bradbury is speaking up because he doesn't want this past year to set a precedent for years going forward. He says his focus needs to be on summer camps and getting children to have fun on this playground here behind me, rather than figuring out how they're going to pay for it. Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, CBC reached out to Employment and Social Development Canada, the federal body which provides the funding, and a spokesperson says it doesn't comment on who receives funding through the Canada Summer Jobs program. In an email, the office says there were 48,000 applications this year, and of those, 39,000 applications were approved. Flags are at half-mast outside the provincial legislature today to mark the passing of renowned artist Christopher Pratt. Pratt died yesterday at the age of 86. Pratt is one of the country's finest painters and printmakers, but he also designed the provincial flag, which is one of his most displayed pieces. Pratt was celebrated and respected around the world, but his favorite subject matter was close to home in this province. Here's Chris O'Neill-Yates with a look at the life of Christopher Pratt.
The clean lines, architectural precision, breathtaking use of color, all hallmarks of Christopher Pratt's vast body of work. In every piece, Pratt sought to honor Newfoundland, says his friend, curator Tom Smart.
He was a fiercely proud Newfoundlander and wanted that regional distinction to come out. And it was expressed, for example, in the clapboard siding. was expressed in the way laundry was on the line. He saw in those images the essence of a Newfoundland experience that went back, centuries, and that he identified with deeply.
I just loved working on it.
Pratt studied in Glasgow, Scotland, and at Mount Allison University in New Brunswick, where he met his wife Mary, also a renowned artist who died in 2018. They had 4 children and divorced in 2004. Pratt was passionate about his work.
I was looking at some Beothuk and Naskapi artifacts there.
And nowhere was his passion brought more to bear than in designing the provincial flag.
The committee might well have found a better designer, I don't dispute that. But I would say with all modesty that they would not have found anybody who cared more.
Pratt also wrote poetry. Emma Butler says he told her he'd prefer to be known for that.
But his paintings were poetry. Every painting was a poem. Every painting was about something ordinary. But when he was finished with it, it had an authority. It had a command, a power to it.
He was a very humble man. He can come across as a bit cold,
but cold isn't the man Mireille Egan knew. She was moved by his fascination with old military bases, former mining towns, places of memory.
It was important for him to remember, because for him, remembering was an act of love and respect. That's what I'm going to remember.
He'll be remembered as one of the more extraordinary artists in Canada, certainly.
Christopher Pratt once said he would rather die in Newfoundland than live anywhere else. Pratt died at the age of 86. Chris O'Neill Yates, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the weather this week already is significantly better than what we saw last week. The reason for that is that area of low pressure finally far enough offshore that we're actually seeing some nice weather. So you can see that across the board as far as that cloud cover goes. Not a whole lot of it up across Labrador. We did see a bit of cloud cover and a few showers roll through eastern areas of the island earlier today. But other than that, looking like a pretty lovely day, and certainly looking still pretty beautiful out there right now along the Narrows there. 15 degrees is what it's sitting at right now in St. John's, and we do have some nice mild temperatures over the next little bit, which is nice. But over the weekend, we did have our first named storm. Tropical Storm Alex, now post-Tropical Storm Alex, affected Florida earlier, well, through the weekend, and then Bahamas today, or Bermuda rather, and that is on its way out and going to stay well south of Newfoundland and Labrador, which is nice. But look at the temperatures over the next couple of days. Looks like we're going to reach the 20-degree mark. Some of these temperatures still pretty cool in the overnight, but even central, you're looking like you should reach 21 degrees by the time we get to Saturday, and even Lab West, you're looking at some nice weather as well. I'll get into the full details when I come back.
Thank you, Ashley. One elderly couple died in a house fire over the weekend. It happened in Campbellton, a 20-minute drive northeast of Lewisport. The RCMP say a concerned neighbor contacted police after going to check on the couple on Saturday. Police say the fire occurred inside the home, but that it was not detected and appeared to have petered out on its own. The 2 people in their 80s were found dead inside. The chief medical examiner and the fire commissioner are investigating. Well, we have an update tonight on a CBC Investigates story we brought you 3 years ago. Police have now laid charges after an investigation into finances at the Bunyan's Cove Local Service District. Here Now's Garrett Berry is live for us tonight. So Garrett, remind us where this all began.
Well, it all began in the fall of 2019. It was, in fact, the very same day that the new committee got access to the books. The new committee in Bunyan's Cove called in the RCMP. They complained about past unexplained spending, multiple checks for thousands of dollars that were written over the course of 16 months. CBC News obtained financial documents relating to the local service district. Those records showed photocopies of 12 checks made out to Stephanie Chapman, a former committee member. They were either written to her directly or to businesses linked to her. Altogether, those checks were worth almost $100,000, including one check for $32,000. There was also a check sent back to the local service district that was written by Chapman for $100,000. That check was deposited just before she left the local service district. The situation was brought to the attention of the provincial authorities and the police, and last month, police laid 28 charges. Chapman is facing a dozen counts of forgery and 16 counts of fraud. She didn't respond to requests for comment today. The local service district had high hopes for the money. They wanted to replace this 1971 Ford that they were using, but those financial issues put the community's dream of a new fire truck on hold. There is an update on that. In 2020, the community did get a replacement. Fire Chief Reg Tucker, who was chief at the time, said it's not new, but it's a beauty, and they own it. Garrett Berry, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, there is a new deputy minister in the provincial government. Dr. Pat Parfrey is the DM of Health Transformation in the Office of the Executive Council. Parfrey is the co-chair of Health Accord NL, which is looking at the future of healthcare. He's a kidney specialist, an epidemiologist, officer of the Order of Canada, and a fellow of the Royal Society of Canada. He's also well known in rugby circles, notably as the coach who took the men's national team to the World Cup in 1999. Well, a staple of West End St. John's history is up for auction in the form of a convenience store sign. The Fitz's cold beer sign hung outside John Fitzpatrick's Topsail Road convenience store for more than 40 years. Fitzpatrick died of cancer last year, and now his family is auctioning off the keepsake and donating the proceeds to the Dr. H. Bliss Murphy Cancer Center. John's daughter says they've already had lots of interest and that whoever gets the sign is taking home a whole lot of memories.
So many people have had an experience at Fitz's Cold Beer. He's been in that business for over 44 years, and whenever somebody goes in, they have that laugh, they have that memory with my dad and with my uncles that work there.
Well, a 6-week-long fundraiser for the East Coast Trail Association has raised an impressive $86,000. Now, that money will go towards maintaining the popular trail system. While the group may have missed its $100,000 goal, the association says the money will go a long way towards next year's trail maintenance and development.
So today was our annual community hike fundraiser, our Trailraiser community hike fundraiser, and coincidentally it falls on International Trails Day, which is awesome. And it's all about raising awareness and funds for the East Coast Trail Association and the 336 kilometers of trail that we've got here on the Avalon Peninsula. This year we officially opened up the next portion of the East Coast Trail Association to make it a continuous 336 kilometers. We opened that up a couple weeks ago, so this was a bit of a celebratory opportunity for us to share that story and also celebrate the achievements of our volunteers. After a couple tough years with the COVID pandemic, it was nice to see a full room of people enjoying some live music after the event and also getting out to enjoy the trail, more importantly, this morning. So we had over 250 people register. I would suspect we had around 300 on the trail today, which is amazing. And we were able to raise over $85,000 for the association. It was a total success from our side of things. And, we had the opportunity. There was a variety of different hikes for people to get out and enjoy. There was long hikes, there were shorter hikes, more technical hikes. Not only is it great for individuals' physical health and to get out, enjoy the fresh air, get a sweat going, but it's also crucially important for everyone's mental health as well. To get out and to be around nature, to get out and hike the trail and see all the sights and sounds that are out there. And the fundraiser is really just about encouraging people to get out on the trail, to enjoy the trail, and to just spend a great day out hiking.
The Newfoundland Growlers basketball team made their CEBL debut over the weekend at Memorial University's Field House, but they came up a little short.
Sampson spins, drives, and gets it to fall. Oh boy, I think Brandon Sampson is just nasty.
The team dropped Friday night's game to the Edmonton Stingers 89-74 and were back in action Sunday afternoon, as you can see here, against the Ottawa Blackjacks. The home team came up short again. They were defeated in another nail-biter, 86-85. But the team did make a bit of history with the Growlers' Brandon Sampson scoring 42 points, which is the most ever in a CEBL game. The team will travel to Scarborough for a game against the Shooting Stars on Tuesday.
Wednesday on Here and Now.
I've never seen a mosh pit in a museum before.
How did punk rock music and culture come to thrive in suburban Mount Pearl?
It's where the young families were. It's where a lot of young people lived and they didn't have much else to do but make their own fun.
It's not the kind of story you typically find in a museum.
This really reaches a community that the museum would never have reached.
Dive into the world of punk in the Pearl. Wednesday on Here and Now.
Well, we're still seeing some pretty cool nights out there. The good news is that we're going to see some warmer weather for most of this week. I'll get into the full forecast coming up.
Time for a look at the weather. I had a nice little trip last week down to Conn River for a few days, which was really nice to kind of get out of town. The weather was not great, I will say. It rained and it was very windy as well down there, but things seem to have turned around outside today.
Yeah, so I guess the forecast panned out.
Yeah.
In that case, that's about the only good thing. Yeah, weather has definitely turned around this week, which is really nice. Finally to see some sunshine, some warmer temperatures. It is June after all. We're expecting some of this nicer weather for sure. Let's take a look at where we sat this morning. We're still looking at temperatures overnight. So this was our overnight and morning low. They look pretty familiar because it's basically our daytime highs all last week. But definitely warmed up today. 6 degrees was what the morning low was in St. John's, and temperatures, the only place below zero today was Makovic at -1. Hopedale, you sat around zero for the morning. Lab City around 2 degrees today. So this is when we start talking about the potential for frost. Now, the average last frost for the island is, well, Corner Brook anyways, typically about May 22nd. There's a 10% chance after this that you will see frost. Grand Falls, Windsor, St. John's, you're around June 2nd. So Environment Canada, as of June 10th, will start issuing those frost advisories when we see these temperatures that will be chilly, where we could see the potential for some frost. So if you're getting eager to put out those flowers, just wait a little bit longer, because actually, in fact, this is a little bit later than they normally would. Normally they'd start issuing them this week, but I guess with that late cool that we've been seeing, they're going to push that ahead about another week or so. So by June 10th, we'll start talking about frost advisories. Hopefully we won't have to talk about them, because by the time we get to the end of the week, we're actually looking at some warmer temperatures, and certainly seeing those warmer temperatures today. 16 degrees in St. John's, 11 in Bonavista. The hot spot was tied at Terra Nova and Badger at 19 degrees. Then up across the Big Land, 18 in Lab City today. Happy Valley Goose Bay sat around 15 for a good chunk of the day, and we're still hanging on to some of those colder temperatures though towards the coast. Cartwright 5 degrees, Makovic at 3 as your daytime high. So taking a look at what's going on, it's nice to see that area of low pressure head off. So we're seeing lots of sunshine up across the Big Land. Some cloud cover lingered today for a good chunk of the afternoon, some peaks of sun as well, but we did see a few showers roll through. And still leading to an absolutely beautiful evening. 15 degrees in St. John's, not so much in Bonavista, only down to 5 degrees right now. So definitely seeing some of that cooler air. It's still lovely up across Lab West anyway, at about 18 degrees for Lab City. And your temperature in Happy Valley Goose Bay is sitting at 14. So there's not a whole lot happening for you up across the Big Land tonight. We're looking at mainly clear skies through the overnight, but that does mean your temperatures will drop tonight. Still looking at the potential for some cloud cover though, all along the coast, and then cloud cover the story for the island. Not a whole lot going on weather-wise though. We may see a few showers just for the tip of the northern peninsula as we head through the overnight tonight, but it shouldn't amount to much if they do happen. There's your temperatures overnight, so dipping again. Somewhere between 2 to 6 degrees will be the overnight lows. The winds will be generally light. The warmest should be in the southwest, where Port aux Basques will sit around 6 degrees through the overnight tonight. Up across the Big Land, you're looking at your temperatures hovering around the 0 degree mark for both Happy Valley Goose Bay and Lab City, and then about 1 or 2 degrees as you head towards the coast. Winds a bit more breezy for you though, out of the northwest, between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Now as we head through the day tomorrow, not a whole lot happening. We may see a bit of fog offshore tomorrow for the west coast. Likely going to see some cloud cover linger for the eastern half of the island, at least through the morning hours. It'll probably take a little bit of time for that to clear out through the afternoon, but by the time we get into the evening hours, we are seeing the cloud cover eventually disappear as the day goes on, and then another beautiful day up across the Big Land. Now, as we head into the evening hours, you're going to see the clouds on the increase, and then maybe even a few showers for Lab City as we head into the early morning hours on Wednesday. So temperatures tomorrow a bit cooler than today, only about 11 degrees, and that's because the winds will be out of the north. So temperatures going to be a bit cooler in that onshore flow. They'll be about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour, so a bit breezy. Further away from that, though, we are looking at much nicer weather, 13 to 16 degrees as you head towards the Burin Peninsula. Central areas of the island, temperatures should sit in the teens. Twillingate, single digits for you, about 5 degrees with some cloud cover, like I said, sticking around. You'll likely see some sun as the day goes on. And then 15 15 degrees for the west coast tomorrow, with those winds out of the north around 20 kilometers per hour. Similar temperatures as you head towards the northern peninsula. A little cooler for Cartwright. Again, your winds will be a bit breezy between 30 and 50 kilometers per hour, and then 20 degrees it looks like for Lab City tomorrow, with your winds out of the southeast around 20 kilometers per hour. There's lots more where that came from with some of these warmer temperatures, and I'll get into all those details coming up.
Splash and Putt is gearing up for the summer season, but the bumper cars have been given the boot. They're going virtual instead. We'll tell you all about it coming up. Well, if you've ever been to Splash and Putt near Terra Nova National Park, you probably recognize this area that we're in right now. This is where the bumper cars were. But Splash and Putt, shifting gears, you could say, with something different. Joining me now is the owner, Shane Gardner. So tell me, where did the bumper cars go?
Well, right now they're sitting in a pit out behind this building. Yeah.
Why are you taking them out?
There's a couple reasons. Contrary to what you might read on Facebook, they did lose popularity over the last few years. That's one issue. And the second is because of COVID, we faced major supply chain issues and parts were not available. So we actually looked at this year not being able to run them because we couldn't get critical parts we needed.
These bumper cars were here for a really long time. How does it feel to have them gone? It's kind of a staple part of Splash and Putt.
It's two parts, I guess. There is a sentimental attachment is one, but the other is excitement for what's to come.
Yeah, tell us what's going to be happening here.
It's a ride. It's called a Supernova XD Theater. It's basically, well, right behind me here, there's going to be a screen. It's like 14 feet high, 26 feet wide. And beyond that, there's two hydraulic platforms with 6 seats each that'll move in 6 different ways in conjunction with the movie that's going to be played behind us here.
So you're going virtual?
We're going virtual, 3D virtual, yes.
Wow. And what has the reaction been so far to this change?
A lot of positive. We're getting some negative feedback on replacing the bumper cars, but I think this experience will far outweigh anything you can get on the bumper cars. Yeah. It'll be more like race cars and roller coasters and flying, this sort of thing. So.
Why did you want to go that route, to go virtual in particular, as opposed to putting in another ride?
Well, we had a building we could have utilized, that's number one. I've experienced those rides before, and it just seemed like a good fit, and like we've always wanted a roller coaster or whatever, but this way we can have different experiences throughout the day.
Things are starting to slowly get back to normal, but what were things like for you during the pandemic? Were you still busy?
The first year we were totally closed, the park and the cabin, so that was just horrible. It was a horrible experience. Last year we got open, restrictions were loosened, but it was a great year last year. The weather cooperated and people came out, and we're hoping for the same this year.
Mm-hmm. So it was, you actually had a decent year?
Yeah, it was a really good year actually, yeah.
Why do you think that was?
I think people just couldn't travel like the year before. Splash and Putt wasn't open, so whoever wanted to come missed that. And I think people just need to get out and do some stuff. And like I said, the weather was fantastic last year. So,
what do you hear from people about Splash and Putt? This place has been around for a really, really long time. There's a long history. Generations of families have really experienced this. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, well, we were here since '84, so it's been quite a while, and we do get that. Like now, we're getting people coming saying, "I'm here with my grandchildren. I was here myself with my children," or "Here's a child," and you know, so we're into generations of families coming, so that's great, and we get great feedback. We put a lot of work, time, and money into the park to keep it up, and its feedback is always good.
What about the other areas of the park? How's everything else doing?
Good. I mean, I have like 5 people here now doing the regular stuff, the painting, the repairs, stuff like that. Everything's holding up. I mean, our water slide and splash pad were replaced not that long ago, and everything's holding up good, but we spend our time keeping it that way.
When do you expect it'll be up and running?
July the 1st, we're open. We're hoping to have it up and running then. So.
Oh, really? You're hoping to have the virtual area set up by July 1st?
That's the hope, yeah.
All right. Well, Shane Gardner, thank you so much for telling us about it.
Thank you very much.
Well, tonight we're marking the death of renowned artist Christopher Pratt. He died yesterday at the age of 86 at his home on Salmon River, surrounded by family and friends. Pratt was known across Canada for his minimalist paintings of ordinary life and scenes in a style that became known as magical realism. But he also designed the Newfoundland flag in the early 1980s. We found this piece from our archives when Pratt spoke with the CBC about how he came to create the flag.
First thing I had to decide was what basic flag type format I was going to use, and I researched that. I looked at the designs that had been submitted to the committee, and there were some very, very good ones. I read the written briefs to get some idea of the kind of thing that people who were interested wanted to get in the flag, and of course I looked at the flags of other countries to try and decide on what would be a good way to go. And for a great many reasons, I came back to what is essentially a Union Jack structure, that is to say, with the standard cross and the diagonal cross inserted in the rectangle. Now, it seemed to me that this was important for many reasons. First of all, in a great many submissions, there was the obvious feeling that the Union Jack should at least be recalled, if not retained. I felt strongly that recalling it was better than retaining it. Then, having got this far, I started to look in great detail at the various motifs, the various things I wanted the flag to say, the various aspects of our society, our community, our history, our principles that I hoped I could reflect in the flag using this basic underlying design. One of the things I did was to go to the Newfoundland Museum, and I was looking at some Beothuk and Naskapi artifacts there. One of the things that was really prevalent in the Beothuk artifacts were these pendants that have a kind of a fork-like shape like that, and there's design in here and some kind of motif along the edges. But that fork shape appealed to me, and it sort of recalled the shapes that were available to me in the design structure that I had chosen. There was also a very interesting design element in some of the work where there was an arrow, kind of that with some design in here, which fed into another arrow like so. And that interested me too, and as you'll see in the flag, I actually incorporated this notion of one arrow feeding into another. Also in the Naskapi artifacts, there were instances where they used strongly triangular shapes like these that I'm drawing so roughly right here. These motifs were somehow or other the first design reaction to this environment. So I thought that it was a nice thing to put in.
And then you went to work drawing up proposed designs.
That's right. I then, using these and other elements, I got to work at it, and I did maybe 40 or 50 designs.
This is the final design that you chose. How did you arrive at it?
Well, as you can see, I went through a great many permutations and combinations after I had decided on the basic design elements. And I did 5 or 6 larger and more refined drawings, which I presented to the legislature's committee. And of those designs, they chose this one as being the most effective one. It's also the one I recommended. The combination of red, white, and blue together, of course, it recalls the Union Jack, but we also associate red, white, and blue with justice and authority. Finally, the use of gold in the arrow. To me, that's a kind of symbol of hope, the idea of a new day dawning, sun rays crowning the pine-clad hills, as it were.
This to you represents, I guess, Newfoundland, the design.
All I can say, Paul, is that I was presented with a difficult task, not meaning to be a crybaby about it. I did the best I could possibly do. I think that the committee might well have found a better designer. I don't dispute that. But I would say with all modesty that they would not have found anybody who cared more about the province.
Coming up tomorrow on CBC Radio's Labrador Morning, how many people in Labrador have a family doctor? The show talks to the Newfoundland and Labrador Medical Association. And on Newfoundland Morning, a mental health counseling program sees a resurgence during the pandemic. Find out how you can take advantage of the program from the Canadian Mental Health Association. After 4 days of celebrations in London, the Platinum Jubilee weekend marking the Queen's 70 years on the throne has wrapped up. As the CBC's Chris Brown reports, it ended in very royal style.
Much of the long thank you to the 96-year-old Queen took place without her physically being there. But credit Jubilee organizers for creativity. Sunday, a hologram of a younger Elizabeth II was beamed into her Golden State coach.
I keep mine in here.
And Saturday, she popped up in a video with Paddington Bear, even tapping out the beat to the opening song of the tribute concert. Prince Charles, the heir apparent, along with Prince William and Prince George, who are also in line to be kings, watched the day's colorful parade along the Mall with smiles, although again it was George's little brother Louis who seemed to have the most fun. Many, however, did find Charles's tribute to his mother Saturday evening moving.
Your Majesty, Mummy, thank you from your family, the country, the Commonwealth, in fact, the whole world.
The British government handed out money for more than 16,000 neighbourhood parties, like this one in West London.
I think it's just wonderful for us all to be able to get together again after COVID.
With the, Eastern European war has been terrible, but it's lovely to be able to celebrate something wonderful and momentous.
The celebrations also marked a break from politics as usual in the UK, but that truce is now ending.
The parties and Jubilee celebrations have given a respite to Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who's facing serious political challenges. The coming week could be a defining one for his career.
Johnson may find out if enough of his own MPs have rebelled to trigger a confidence vote sparked by parties at his Downing Street office while the country was in a COVID lockdown. One of his chief allies spent her Jubilee making the case to keep him.
We got the vaccine out and he went straight into the war in Ukraine. There are very few prime ministers who've had to deal with as much as he has.
But for now, the Jubilee had one last surprise, an unexpected balcony appearance by Her Majesty, smiling, waving, and clearly pleased that another major milestone in her unprecedented reign was a success. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Well, Boris Johnson will hold on to his seat. A little over an hour ago, the British Prime Minister survived a no-confidence vote initiated against him by some within his own Conservative Party.
Vote in favour of having confidence in Boris Johnson as leader was 211 votes, and the vote against was 148 votes. And therefore, I can announce that the Parliamentary Party does have confidence.
Now, while he's able to remain in office, 148 nays suggest a significant number of MPs oppose his leadership. Public anger as well as dissatisfaction from within his party have been growing for months. Calls for him to step down were amplified by revelations that he broke lockdown rules during the earlier part of the pandemic. An Ontario judge is outlining bail conditions today for Canadian musician Jacob Hoggard. A day after the former Headley lead singer was found guilty in a sexual assault of an Ottawa woman, but not guilty of other charges involving a teenage fan. The CBC's Susanna De Silva reports.
The jury found Jacob Hoggard guilty of one of 3 charges. He was convicted on 1 count of sexual assault causing bodily harm relating to a woman who was in her early 20s at the time, and not guilty on the same charge relating to a woman who was 16 at the time, and not guilty on a charge of sexual interference for an alleged groping incident with the same woman when she was 15. A verdict that the jury took 6 days of deliberations to reach, something experts say is common in sexual assault allegations.
One of the things this verdict showed in the jury's questions, and there were a number of them, particularly 4 that were about consent, fraud, authority, position of trust is just how complicated and gray this area of law is.
For 5 weeks, jurors heard from Hoggard and his two accusers. They both said they were raped violently by Hoggard and said he degraded them and didn't listen when they said stop. The woman whose accusation led to the conviction spoke to CBC News about what she says happened in a Toronto hotel room in this exclusive interview.
All I remember was telling him like how much he was hurting me, and he didn't care.
The jury also heard Hoggard testify everything that happened in those hotel rooms was consensual. The defense suggested similarity in the claims of the women was a matter of his personal preferences. In her charge to the jury, the judge stressed the case came down to a question of consent. Twice, the jury, made up of 10 men and 2 women, told the judge they were in disagreement on some of the counts, with the judge urging them to keep trying. They followed up with more questions and then rewatched hours of testimony and cross-examination. The Crown has said it would be seeking a long sentence. The maximum is 14 years.
I would expect something in the range of 4 to 7 years would be my guess of a range.
What the jury didn't hear was that Hoggard has now been charged with a new sexual assault from an accusation of a woman from Kirkland Lake, Ontario, who says she was raped in 2016. Susanna De Silva, CBC News, Vancouver. A coroner's inquest has begun in Pembroke, Ontario, into one of the worst instances of intimate partner violence in Canadian history. Basil Baruski murdered 3 women in a shocking one-day spree of violence back in 2015. Anastasia Kuzik, Natalie Warmerdam, and Carol Culleton were murdered in 3 separate locations. He was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 of second-degree murder. His trial heard about the many warning signs that were missed. Now the coroner's inquest will examine what happened, but also focus on the rural settings and the unique challenges faced by victims outside big cities.
No woman on this planet should live with a shotgun under her bed, a panic button beside her nightstand, and security cameras. No woman, no person should have to do that.
McBain was a close friend of Natalie, one of the 3 victims. Well, it's 1 year to the day since the deadly hate-motivated attack in London, Ontario. 4 members of the Afzaal family, spanning 3 generations, were killed after being struck by a truck while out for an evening walk. Many say it's not enough to just mark the anniversary of their tragic deaths. They want to see concrete steps to address Islamophobia. Talia Ritchie reports.
Throughout this year of grieving, a close friend of Salman Afzaal describes fleeting thoughts of being able to see him again.
We still can't believe it that has happened, and Salman is not with us anymore. We just can't believe it. We think like maybe during the pandemic we didn't see each other, so it's the same situation. We are not just seeing each other. He'll be around.
1 year ago today, Salman, his wife Madiha, their daughter Yumna, and Salman's mother Talat were run down while out for a walk. The couple's 9-year-old son was seriously hurt but survived. Imran Saeed says Salman was more like family to him.
We used to meet each other every evening in the mosque. So that's not there anymore. And honestly, I'll be very honest, after that I have switched the mosque. I go to a different mosque now because it doesn't look the same.
Police say the family was targeted because of their Muslim faith. This week there have been marches, vigils, and events like this one, which dedicated a community garden to the Afzaals. Many of these events were planned by youth in the community.
I want to see our voices actually being heard rather than people saying, oh, we are going to do this, we're going to do this to stop it, but nothing actually being done.
On Sunday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with the organizers and recognized that more needs to be done. Today, the government made this announcement.
The call for applications. The application process is open for anyone interested to fulfill the role to become Canada's special representative to combat Islamophobia.
Those who knew the Afzaals say coming together at events like this offers some peace, but their lives remain forever changed.
This family was a gem. I am sure everybody will remember them. If I would say not so many people, but the close family friends, And other people in the city, they will remember them always.
There are also anti-Islamophobia workshops being hosted in the community this week, and local libraries are highlighting Muslim authors. But many hope the family's legacy and the calls for change continue well beyond this anniversary. Talia Ricci, CBC News, London, Ontario.
And still with this story, MPs observed a moment of silence today in the House of Commons for the Afzaal family.
I understand that there is an agreement to observe a moment of silence in memory of the victims of the attack in London, Ontario that happened a year ago. I now invite the honourable members to rise.
Goats are really good at this because sheep tend to eat grass first, while goats like to nibble on weeds.
Oh, well, this is a win-win situation. 60 goats get fed and the park gets mowed. This is a Goose Island overlook in Regina. The hungry visitors play an important role in protecting the park's ecosystem.
Yeah, they'll be on the hill for the next several days munching away and will return for another 10-day stint later in the summer.
Wouldn't mind having them visit my place. Although I suspect they might trample the flowers a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think that they're aware of, their surroundings.
But if they just eat the weeds,
then you're good.
That would be amazing.
Except for the bees.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to be careful of the bees.
Yeah, of course.
But that goutweed, oh, if I could only find a creature that could eat up all of my goutweed.
Wouldn't that be lovely?
So great.
I think there's a lot of people who echo that sentiment, for sure.
For sure. All right, so we're in the long range now, so we're looking ahead to Wednesday. We had a great day today. Hopefully these nice temperatures and sunshine will stick around to midweek.
They do look that way, which is nice. We're in a bit of a pattern where we'll see some nice warmer air stick around for a little while. Let's take a look at what's going to happen as we get into tomorrow evening and then eventually into Wednesday. So you're going to see that system just to the west there, where we're going to see some showers potentially for the Lab West anyway for the day on Wednesday. Otherwise, we're probably going to see, depending on how close this gets, some increasing cloud for the southwestern portion of the island as well. Other than that, not a whole lot happening. As you can see, temperatures will be fairly nice. Now we're going to continue to see that onshore flow, those northerly winds. Temperatures will be a bit cool for you in that onshore flow. So 10 degrees in Gander, 11 in St. John's. You may see a few showers in the morning, but the sun should come out as the day goes on. And again, those clouds will be on the increase for the western half of the island. But the wind will generally be onshore for you along the south coast. 15 degrees for Marystown as your daytime high. Now temperatures up across the Big Land, again cooler in that onshore flow for you in Cartwright at 7 degrees. The rest of the Big Land looking at those temperatures in the teens and showers, the story for Lab West. Now as we head through Wednesday evening into Thursday, this area of low pressure is going to get a little bit closer. This will be our weather maker for the next couple of days. However, we'll stay in this pattern where we'll see these warmer temperatures, so that's not too bad. But the showers will be moving in even for the island as well, particularly the southwest as we get into the evening hours on Thursday. Eventually, most of us will see those clouds on the increased temperatures. Should reach about 21 degrees for the west coast, through central around 19 through the day, and St. John should sit around 16 degrees. A little cooler again, though, in that onshore flow along the south coast. With some showers. For you across the Big Land, you're looking at about 14 degrees in Lab City for your Thursday, and then back to some teen temperatures, it looks like, for the coast. Cartwright finally going to see some nice temperatures around 16 degrees for Thursday. The outlook looking pretty nice as far as those temperatures go. Look at the overnight lows too, Thursday through Saturday. That's what we're looking for planting. So hopefully it stays that way, around 10 degrees, but we're looking at Friday, some showers. First half of Saturday, it looks like some showers too, but 20 degrees and likely some clearing. Definitely going to keep an eye on that forecast for the weekend. For central Newfoundland, you're looking at showers again on Friday. By Saturday, looking beautiful. 21 degrees is your daytime high. Then for western Newfoundland, unsettled, it looks like you'll probably see some clearing on Saturday though, and 17 degrees. Now, as far as eastern Labrador goes, unfortunately, you're looking at some showers, although warm temperatures, so that's certainly nice. Same thing for western Labrador, temperatures between 12 and 16 degrees. Take a look at this shot. Some golden hour lighting. Abby Earl captured this shot of the fox on Signal Hill. Great shot there. Thank you so much for sharing that photo. And if you have any that you would like to share with us, that's how you get a hold of me, Facebook, Twitter, or email it at nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that's pretty cute.
Great shot.
Yeah.
See, it's been hanging around.
Yeah.
Signal Hill. Lots of people sent some photos of that fox. I've never seen it. I used to do Signal Hill all the time. I haven't recently, but
there are a few up there. I know for a while they were trying to catch them and release them,
Yeah.
and so I guess it didn't quite work. But anyways, that's it for us. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.